attraction dictates that whatever you place your energy and your attention on will be attracted into your life. When you speak your desires out loud, it focuses your mind on specific ideas, and spoken word has an energy that is much greater than mere thoughts in your head or ideas on paper. Today we have you a special guest, Super Bowl champion and mental performance consultant, Mr. Chukky Okobi. Welcome,
What's going on? What's going on? I appreciate you guys having me.
thank you, man. It's such a pleasure.
Excited to have you on, man. Our conversation, that we were having a little earlier. Save that for the show.
Oh, there's plenty where that came from. There's plenty where that came from. One of the biggest things that, there's a misconception, I believe, for most people, because we don't know what we don't know. We'll get deeper into that in a moment, but is that people who do extraordinary things, we're talking about actors, people who make it to the pros in sports, politicians, people in positions of influence where a lot of people are listening to them, following them, is that they somehow have some sort of inherent quality that the rest of us don't. Like they're different, but really not. And so a lot of what I do when I speak on basic instructions in terms of taking control of your mind so you can take control of your life, I'm just reporting the news. I'm just telling it like the way I see it. And so when we look at life, especially as people of color in this world, and we begin to look at whatever issues we're facing differently, it's like just recognize that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change. And it's really that simple. And so that's where basic instructions comes from, is that, a lot of times the fact that we believe that making the changes we want to make are difficult, the fact that you believe that, the belief is the problem. What if it's not that difficult? What if it's, it's like, since we're in the football mode right now, I'll tell you a story I told a high school football team a couple of years ago when I was speaking in Omaha. And I asked them if they ever heard of the 49ers. You guys ever heard of 49ers? And they laughed at me. Like, yeah, we heard of 49ers. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you know why they're called the 49ers? Nobody really knew. So I explained it to them. So you go back to 1848, 1849. Well, that's when the big gold rush happened in this country. So everybody's moving towards that Bay Area to get that gold. I mean, it's there for the taking because, at this point, the United States was relatively young and they just found it. So all the gold that you see now, it's like they just found it at that point. So everybody's going there. And you got people coming from Massachusetts and from Georgia, from Texas, and from Ohio, and everybody's just going that way. But this is 1848. So they didn't take the bus. There were no trains. There was no planes. So how did they get there? They walked with their 2 feet. People walked their entire lives with everything they owned all the way to get to that bay because that's what they want. What they want is over there, and I'm willing to do whatever I got to do to get it. But what happens when you're walking, you've been walking forever, it feels like, and you get to Colorado, right? Because you're going to hit Colorado at some point on the way. So all of a sudden, there's this 15,000 foot peak in front of you. You got to climb. If you want that goal, you got to climb this mountain. You got to, whatever it takes. And you got to understand, these people were just walking with their whole lives. People were born on these trips. People died on these trips. And now I got to climb this 15,000 foot mountain. Man, I want it. I want that goal. I want it. And the people who made that trek, who braved all of that to get that gold, are honored by San Francisco calling their team after them. But here's the thing. We're all willing to work to get to what we want. Like, man, I'll put in that work. I'll do whatever I got to do to get it. I'm hungry. I'll do that. I'm going to climb the mountain. Here's what I'm saying with basic instructions. I'm glad that you're motivated to climb this mountain. You're willing to do that. That's awesome. What if I showed you a tunnel?
So you'd have to climb that mountain.
Yeah, why risk it?
Right.
Why put yourself through all of this? You see what I'm saying?
I definitely.
That's the type of thinking we're talking about. And literally, for anybody wondering what any of this has to do with football, what I'm telling you is how I got to the NFL.
Yeah, well,
This is what I'm talking about right now. You know what I mean?
before we really dive into it and get into our subject matter, would you do our audience the honor of introducing yourself? Through your football career, we can briefly touch on that, then get into the meat and potatoes.
Okay. Well, my name is Chukky Okobi. I'm an 8-year NFL veteran and a Super Bowl winner with my hometown, Pittsburg Steelers, in the 2005 season. I played 80 games over 8 seasons, gone into a number of different entrepreneurial ventures, leaving the NFL in 2008. And so what I do now is my consulting and coaching company called Basic Instruction Mind Mastery. And I'm an integrative psychology expert, keynote motivational speaker, and a mental performance coach and consultant for venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, business professionals, and former and current pro athletes. What I do is I educate and empower leaders and companies to cultivate real internal balance, really take control of what's really going on inside so that they can get the results they want outside there in the world and make the impact that they're looking to do with their companies. And really, I learned how to use the inherent tools of the human mind and really align them with the faculty of human emotions to reach the pinnacle of success in my chosen profession and becoming a world champion. And so essentially what I do is I teach high-level performing professionals to do the same, create that same type of success in their lives and careers and businesses. What I call creating their own Super Bowl level success in their business, career, and life overall. Really showing leaders how success is simple if you know the basic instructions.
Neuro-linguistic program. So for many of our audience, this would be the first time that they were introduced to this. And I couldn't think of a better person, to deliver this pertinent information, to our audience.
Yeah, the thing about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, just break down the word. Neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro is like neurology. So we're talking about the brain.
Right.
Linguistic is like words, communication. So mind and communication, programming refers to how that neural language functions. So essentially, as a master practitioner of NLP, what I am is an expert on the functions of thought, how language affects the mind, not just the language that you read on the screen or you hear and speak to one another, but most importantly, the language that's going on inside and how that pertains to the results you're getting in your life, whatever area of life you might be thinking about.
Now that we have a definition, let's go into how you were introduced to it. The secret to creating your future.
I got you guys. I got you. See, you already know where this is going. So, it's really interesting. When I was in high school, I only got one scholarship offer to play college football. And there's a whole story behind that. Maybe we'll get into that story, but I only got one offer, and that was to Purdue University. And the coach that gave me my scholarship was Jim Coletto, who went on to coach in the NFL for a number of years. But after my first year where I redshirted, he resigned, and I was freaking out. I mean, I was panicked because I believed. I mean, I'm 18 years old, and at that time, I believed this is the only coach that thinks I'm any good, and now he's leaving. So you can understand how I'm like I'm really, really feeling insecure about my position on this team, and I got dreams, man. I got plans. I want to go to the league, and so I got to figure out something. And so, I had what I call by myself meeting. We really have to make some serious decisions about your future and what you need to do now to get to your future. And so it's like I can leave, but it's like, where you gonna go? This is the only scholarship you got. That I was like, where are you gonna go? So I said, okay, well then I need to find an advantage. I need to know something that my teammates and other people in this conference, they don't know. I mean, we're talking Big Ten, so we're talking Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin. And so these are the guys I'm competing against. And they're all lifting weights, they're all watching film, they're all doing everything they need to do physically to prepare. And I'm doing the same thing. So that doesn't put me in an advantage. That was my thought process. Like that doesn't really give me any type of, you know,
leg up on anybody.
yeah, it doesn't give me anything. And so to me, I got to find something different that nobody knows. And so what I did is I went to the used bookstore on campus. I'm literally looking in the trash. So I figured anybody who knows this stuff is probably not on playing football because nobody wants it. They threw these books away. So I'm looking around and I find this book, and the title of the book is The Secret of Creating Your Future by Dr. Thad James. And it was a narrative. It was a story. And that's important because at 18, if they didn't get me in with a story, I probably wouldn't have even looked any deeper into it. So I'm reading the story, and this whole concept, I don't remember if it said it directly or if this is just what I derived from what he said, is that your entire world is in your mind. Your entire world is in your mind. And this really, really grabbed me. Like to me, I was like, wait a second, you telling me that my entire life is in here, but no, because this phone is out here, and this drink is out here, and this computer's out here. So my life's out here. It's not in here. But check this out. Just consider for a moment if it is. Let's just say, for discussion's sake, that it is in your mind. If my entire world is in my mind, in learning tools like NLP, I can learn to control my mind. Well, then I can control my world, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. That's what I did. That's where, I learned about this stuff. I started to use it at age 18, when I was at Purdue. And, it led to what it led to. There's a lot of story to tell. We got time, so I don't want to tell all the stories. But you see where like that was the first introduction that set me down a rabbit hole. I started to learn different ways to utilize my mind, my inherent tools, just the way I see the world, become who I need to become on Saturday. That's the way I looked at it in college. It's like, when I'm sitting in class, I'm just a kid that's lucky to be here because he only got one scholarship.
Right. That's
on Saturday, I had to become who I need to become.
That's right.
That's where all stuff comes into play.
A whole different entity.
Absolutely. Yes. And you said a few things in there that I really want to pull out, right? You started off talking about, you only got one scholarship, which is kind of crazy to me because you got one scholarship to a D1 school, big time, program. And the fact that you only got one scholarship just kind of blows my mind.
I mean,
or one offer
for him to snap to Drew Brees.
Right. And so the one thing, but what really stands out and that I really want to point out, because you talked about, you were in the Big Ten, right? You got Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, all of those big, Penn State, all those big time schools in there. And here's the thing is, all of those players that you see on the field are phenomenal athletes. They were great. They were great athletes in high school, and all staters and all Americans and things of that sort. And you talked about going to practice, watching film, doing the things that football players do, right? But you had the foresight to actually say, okay, if I want to be great, if I want to stand out, I need to do something that they are not doing.
That's right.
And that mindset in itself, that's something that we have to constantly put ourselves in that particular paradigm, is the fact that we have to find, okay, what is my competition not doing?
Yeah.
You know, when we come up with this particular podcast, what's needed out there that other sports podcasts aren't doing? They're not having conversations like this.
No.
They're not trying to help they're trying to entertain in a lot of cases, and they have some really good shows out there, some really good podcasts out there, but they're not trying to help the generation behind it. And so, you know, what I want the audience to really take from what you just said is that you have to search for what your competition or the people that aren't doing, and do it.
Yeah, I mean I mean, you got it. You got it. The only what I would add is not so much looking at what competition is doing, because that turns the focus out there. I'm focused on what they're doing. I don't care what they're doing. My thing is, what do I want? What do I want? And really adopting a mindset, certain beliefs about what it's going to take to do that. So one particular belief that I hold is that there's an infinite amount of information out there to learn. There's no way I could know everything. And so with that said, so that leads me to believe that nobody's going to know everything. And so there's going to be certain things that they don't know and that I don't know. Somebody might know, but if I can find that piece of information that nobody else, forget competition. This is because it's just me against my goal. If I that maybe that piece of information will accelerate my trip to that goal. Maybe if I just knew that little extra bit, because you don't know what you don't know. And so it's really like having to address whatever you're looking at. You got to look at it like remembering back when you learned what it was like to learn. I mean, think back, maybe you were in a classroom with a bunch of other kids or with somebody older and more experienced. But in this moment, you learned what it was like to learn. Everything sounded true and it feels real, right? Because you weren't comparing it to what you believe you know. You just were just taking it in. That's when you got to go back. And so when you look at the goal, say, what else can I do? And the way I like to put it when I work with clients is, you got to go back to thinking like a little kid. Back when we used to create scenarios all the time, when we played make believe, when we played sports, and Kobe, what is that? That's make believe. We used to do this all the time when we were kids, right? That's the way you want to look at life, because back then you didn't know, you were just learning, and so everything was like, let me try this, let me try that. But now we're adults and we think we know everything.
Right.
You got to go back to make believe.
Hey, Chukky, speaking of make believe, right? Let's put our place of that 17 or 18-year-old kid that is at the crossroads, either in Detroit or Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, or Dallas or the south side of Houston. You use a Wizard of Oz analogy.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's introduce our audience, that 17-year-old or 18-year-old that may be looking for a, a different way, right? A breakthrough, right? Let's use that. Can you introduce to our audience that analogy, which does have the or the ability to provide the breakthrough?
Yeah, I could tell you that story. It's really interesting because I first gotta give credit to where I got it from. And I've been blessed to have had experiences working with different coaches at all different levels. And this was really this happened at that apex, that what I call that climactic moment in the movie of my life, where I had to make that decision, where I was in that. This was around the time when I found NLP, is when this happened, and we got a new coach, Joe Tiller. And again, here I am thinking no other coach wants me, so I assume he didn't want me either. That was my assumption. He didn't give me a scholarship to Wyoming, which is where he came from. So I figured he didn't want me. And so I'm nervous, wondering what's going to be what. And then this dude comes in. Now, Wyoming's, their team is called the Cowboys, and a real cowboy is what this dude was. Now, I mean, he was an easy speaking dude, bald in his 50s. He had this really thick Burt Reynolds mustache. His boots, his cowboy boots, were sexy, dude. It was just sexy. And then his belt buckle was massive. And of course, he had that cowboy charm and disposition to match. Now, he stands there in front of us and is telling us about how Purdue football, things have changed now. We just had 13 consecutive losing seasons. And again, look who we're up against: Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin. Like, we were the doormats. And then here comes this new coach telling us how we're going to be champions.
I remember that. I'm from Michigan. Go
right.
I don't mean to throw that on you. But.
Oh, no. We'll talk about Michigan later, but it's like, Coach Tiller's telling us we're going to be champions, but we're thinking about all the mistakes we made in the past and how we're going to go from this to what he's saying sounds incredible. But how am I going to go from where I am to this picture he's talking about?
Right.
So I'll never forget the feeling when he stood up to tell this, and everyone just went silent in anticipation of what was about to come. I mean, he spoke so calmly, but his energy was just intense. Like he was just in charge. Everybody knew this guy's in charge. So he starts telling us the story and about how we're going to be it's going to be real simple, guys. It's going to be real simple. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We only got one rule on this team. And if you follow this one rule, then everything I'm talking about is going to happen. And that rule is the do right rule. Do what you're supposed to do, the way you're supposed to do it, when it's supposed to be done, and do it that way every time.
That's right.
Can you repeat that for me?
The do right rule. Do what you're supposed to do, the way you're supposed to do it, when it's supposed to be done, and do it that way every time.
That's a gem for our audience. That's a diamond.
Absolutely. I hope y'all pulled out pen and paper as well.
And so that's Joe Tiller's do right rule. He said, you follow this rule, everything you want in life, anything you want in life will be yours. And this just blew my mind. I mean, now he had me. At that point, I was like, man, I'm in. And then he just started talking about the Wizard of Oz. He just started, we were like, what? This guy's talking about the Wizard of Oz? And what was really interesting, because everybody's seen the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
It's just that maybe you never thought of it like this before. I mean, it was like, I'd never seen this movie before, and I'm seeing it all different now. So we start. Dorothy is in a crisis. All of a sudden, everything's in vivid color right now. All of a sudden, she's surrounded by all these little people. There's this lady. Why does she look like that? And her attitude, that is not working for me at all. You know what? All I want to do is go home. I just want to go. I don't want to deal with all of these problems. I just want to go home. Believing she herself didn't have the capability to get home. She started asking everybody else, what should I do? Where should I go? Follow Yellow Brick Road. Go see the wizard. I'm telling you, if there's anybody else out there who has what you need, this is the guy. I'm telling you, go see him. Anything you need, he'll make it happen. And so she's thinking to herself, well, I don't know what to do. So I guess I got to follow this advice. Just follow Yellow Brick Road. I got to go. And so she heads down the Yellow Brick Road, and then on that journey, remember we met those three characters, right?
That's right.
First one doesn't think he's smart enough. The second one doesn't think he's tough enough or has the heart.
Yeah.
The third one doesn't think he's got the courage. And so with this thinking, they head down the Yellow Brick Road, overcoming all kinds of obstacles, trees coming alive, flying monkeys, they got over all of that to get to what we believe was the solution, the wizard, only to find out what?
Does she have
It was the fate.
He can't help you.
Yeah.
He got problems of his own.
Yeah, for sure.
He can't help you. And so Dorothy's here thinking to herself, why does this have to be so hard? Why can't I just have what I want? I mean, why? Am I stuck in this situation forever? And then Coach Tiller just paused and looked at us and said, you're in Dorothy's shoes now. What do you do about it? And here's the thing, is you got to go back to the beginning of the crisis.
Mm.
Why was that lady with the bad attitude? Why was she focused on the shoes? Because Dorothy had the shoes the whole time, right?
Yeah.
She had the whole time down the Yellow Brick Road through all of that stuff. She had the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But you recognize in this moment that it wasn't until somebody gave her the basic instructions of how they work.
Mm.
That you realize how simple and easy it is to be, do, and have whatever it is you want. Fellas, you want to be champions? Follow the do right rule and we'll be champions.
The basic instructions.
And that's what Coach Tiller told us. That's what he told us. And the rest is history.
So,
That first year, 97, when he told us that story, Purdue came in second place in the Big Ten. Joe Tiller was the National Coach of the Year in 1997.
mm-hmm.
And in those first 4 years, I started 4 years under him, 97 to 2000. We never came in less than second place.
Mm.
And then senior year, everything he said that first day, my senior day, I was my 22nd birthday, we were crowned Big Ten champions, just like he said. We complicate things because those three characters, you got to remember, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saw the Wizard of Oz at the end. It was all a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was all in her head. That's just how she felt. That's what you call limiting beliefs. When any thought you think to yourself where it starts like, I can't, I'm not, that's the Tin Man. That's the Lion. Like, come on now. Enough with that. And that's what Coach Tiller basically came and told us. And, you know,
The basic instructions.
basic instructions.
Definitely.
But let's get into the basic instructions.
Basic instructions is 4 steps. So when you think about creating the changes we want to create in our world, and we want to reach a dream, maybe whether it be to create a business, create certain dynamics in your family, you want to change your socioeconomic status, whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
same 4 basic instructions. And for me, these are the same 4 basic instructions that led me to create all the success I had as an athlete. It just so happens that, that Super Bowl level success that I mentioned is something that everybody already knows. It's just that for me, my goal was actually the Super Bowl. But, we're talking about that Super Bowl feeling. So I'm going to tell you about that before I get into the 4 basic instructions.
Yeah, let's hear that.
It's like a lot of people wonder when they meet me or somebody who's had the experiences I've had, what that would feel like for me to win the Super Bowl. What would that feel like? What's really interesting is that most people don't realize that they already know this feeling. It's a feeling you're already very intimately familiar with. I mean, just think back on those moments in time, that made your pulse race, your heart's beating fast, your breath is shallow, and you hear that heart beating in your ears. I mean, you see those things now, things that took you to levels of success and excitement that felt so right, it almost felt wrong. That is what it feels like to win the Super Bowl. And that's what I call that Super Bowl level success. Now, wouldn't you like to have that feeling in your business?
Definitely.
Wouldn't you like to have that feeling in your marriage,
Oh yeah. Without
in,
question.
in your family, in your relationship with your higher power? That's what these 4 basic instructions will get you. That's what these 4 basic instructions will take you. What do you want specifically? Basic instruction number 1. Basic instruction number 1 is let go of the past. And it sounds simpler and it sounds more difficult at the same time that it actually is, because it just is.
It's a very difficult process.
Yeah.
It is not. That's what I'm saying. Is that belief that it's difficult is what makes it feel difficult. You're in charge. You just told your mind what it is.
Yeah. Sometimes we get caught up with commitment and morals and values that may be tied in with situations that's just not good for you, that are considered baggage.
Yeah, it is baggage and all, but all of those things that you just mentioned are all decisions that we make.
That's right.
So and that's good. That shows that we're in control.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about letting go of the past, what I mean is letting go of the past emotionally.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of times people, it's like when you think about somebody who wronged you, an ex or a business partner you think wronged you, or a situation that was really unfortunate from the past. And you think about that situation right now, if remembering what it was like to experience that, if I feel the emotions, if I still feel the same now, that's what you gotta let go of.
Gotcha.
And so the thing is this: the past is not real. The future is not real. So check this out. Everything in the past is gone. It's only in your memory. It's in here. The future hasn't happened yet. It's only in your imagination. It's in here.
There you go.
So if I'm thinking about something that happened 10 years ago and I'm still feeling sad, I'm still feeling angry, that's the problem. And so to me, I can remember what happened. I can remember how I felt,
Yep.
but I can't carry that with me. Everything that happened in the past, all of the heartbreaks, all of the pain, is what is exactly, your language is what I would use. It's baggage. So it's like everything that happens, I look at it as what I call black bag, right? It's black bag. So every time somebody calls you names, you got your feelings hurt when you were a kid, it's a black bag. So you take one of those, we carry it with us. You get another black bag, and somebody, got picked last for dodgeball, black bag. You got nobody asked you to the dance, black bag. Your best friend moved away, black bag. You lose somebody close to you, your brother passed away, it's a black bag. Everything's a black bag, and we carry these and carry these and carry these. And then eventually you get so many of these, it turns into this.
There you go.
And then they're walking around
Good
going,
stuff.
look what happened to me.
Yeah.
Look at what happened to me. And this is so heavy. You're not even helping me. Why aren't you helping me? And you're looking at me like, man, just put it down. I'm like, but this is who I am. No, no. Basic instruction number 1.
Preach, brother, preach.
You gotta let that go. And to me, it can be a difficult process if you don't know the basic instructions of how to do it.
All right.
So that's the big thing, is like, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, when I was just learning how to read, I didn't know what I didn't know. So the words were difficult. But when you know the basic instructions of how language works, it no longer becomes difficult. And so basic instruction number 1 is letting go of the past, knowing that all of those memories are in your unconscious mind. You may not remember them all consciously, but that subconscious or unconscious mind is exponentially stronger than what you're consciously aware of. You don't know what you don't know.
There you go.
So here's the thing. We got to clean those out of the unconscious mind, because the stuff that's going on at that deeper level of mind, that unconscious or subconscious mind, is really what's running your life. And so check this out. If I'm not aware of what's going on there, then how do I know there's a problem?
Yeah.
Well, the Tin Man, the Lion, and the Scarecrow will tell you. They'll tell you. Yeah. If those three are hanging around, then you know, I'm not. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how you know it's there. If that's the way you're seeing your world, and you don't like it, basic instruction number one, we got to get rid of that. If I got this bottle full of orange juice and I want milk, but it's full, right? Basic instruction number one, I got to get rid of that before I can get to where I want to go. See what I'm saying? Like, we got whatever happened, it happened. It's not happening. It happened. No one's gonna argue that. It happened. It sucked. Here we are. Let that go. Basic instruction one. Basic instruction number two. Now that we let that go, you're feeling light. You're feeling free. You're feeling clear. You're not carrying that bag anymore. Now's when we want to set our destination. Basic instruction number two. Decide on your specific desired outcome. Specific desired outcome. Now, we got to do the basic instructions in order, because it's like a recipe. You wouldn't, if you're baking a cake, you wouldn't start with the fifth step. You got to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go straight through. Basic instruction two, you got to decide your specific desired outcome. So you got to do it in order. You let go of the past first, because if we're holding on to a lot of fear, then we're not going to really, really set the goal where we want it. That's what we want, but the fear make you set the bar low.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to get rid of everything. Then we set our specific desired result. When we talk about specific desired result, what you want to do is envision the experience. It's like, okay, I want to make $1 million. Great. Well, what are you going to see when you make $1 million? What are you going to hear people say to you? What are you going to be saying to yourself? What are all the emotions involved with that experience? And get in touch with that. That picture in your mind. So we got that. Basic instruction number two, your specific desired result. Basic instruction number three, now that we've let go of the past, we're feeling good, we know exactly where we want to go. Now we got to take the necessary actions to make that desired outcome come true. So it's like, imagine if you know a kid, he wants to be the best hockey player ever lived, better than Gretzky, better than Crosby, better than Bobby Orr, better than everybody. He said, man, I'm going to put in the work. I'm ready to work. And you're like, yeah, man, I can't wait till you make it, man. I can't wait to see what you do. And he's like, yeah, you'll see. So every day you see him at the bus stop doing push-ups, right? His chest is getting big. He's a big dude now. You're like, man, you're getting big. He's like, yeah, I'm working. I'm going to be the greatest hockey player there ever was. Like, man, I can't wait to see you skate, man. When we going to skate? He's like, man, I ain't got time for that. I'm working. Is this the necessary action for his desired result? No, you have to make sure you're doing the right thing. We can't waste our time spinning our wheels. Right. We can't, there's only so much sand in the hourglass. You don't want to waste your energy taking actions that are going to lead somewhere else, other than this goal that we already set.
In business, we call that non-value added.
Yeah, if it doesn't lead directly to that destination, then it's not your necessary action. You know, there's a cartoonist from the early 20th century named Don Harold, and it's my favorite quote, and I always connect it with basic instruction number 3. And what he said is, unhappiness is not knowing what you want and killing yourself to get it.
Wow.
That's pretty profound.
One more time. I'm having you repeat things for our audience so it sinks in.
Yeah, buddy, that's a nugget right there.
Don Harold, great cartoonist from the earliest 20th century.
Yep.
said, unhappiness is not knowing what you want and killing yourself to get it.
Mm.
And so you got to ask yourself, where is all of this energy, all these actions, everything I'm doing, where is it leading? What am I working so hard to achieve? And so are my habits, my behaviors, my thought processes, are these the necessary actions to get a specific result? Or am I just doing things?
Going through the motions.
Yeah, or am I just, people get up and go to work why do you go to work? Or to feed my kids. Is that your goal, is to just get by?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it that you want your family to feel like? What is it that you want your life to feel like? That's basic instruction number 2. And then once I have that feeling, that picture of mine, everything I do, the necessary actions to achieve that reality, that's all I'm doing. Basic instruction number 3, so that I'll work all day long, and it's a joy, it's fun, because I know where I'm going.
That's right.
Instead of hating what I'm doing, instead of being like, oh, I gotta work. It's like, no, we get to work. It's like, I remember when we got into overtime in college, and we were like, we were winning, and then we were overtime. So it's like, oh man. And Coach Taylor goes, man, we get to play some more. We get extra time. We get to play some more.
Right.
Don't you want to play? Let's go. And that's it. So everything you're doing, you get hyped because boom, I'm gonna get that experience.
Yep.
Basic instruction number 3. So we let go of the past. Number 1, we know exactly what we want. Number 2, we know the necessary actions, and we're willing to take those actions. We're willing to climb this mountain to get there, right?
Yep.
All that's left is basic instruction number 4, and that is focus until.
Until. A lot of people, I like that. Until.
A lot of people want to focus until what? Focus until that Super Bowl level success, that specific desired result is achieved, and you're living it. Because what you want, it all depends on what it is. It might take 5 weeks, might take 5 years, might take 5 generations. No matter, you can do it. Same basic instructions. The question is, can you focus until? So a lot of times it comes down to following the first 3 basic instructions over and over and over and over. So it's like, if along the journey, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna get thrown off, and negative feelings are gonna come in. I'm gonna get upset. I'm gonna be afraid. In that moment, can you basic instruction number 1 and let that go? Basic instruction number 2, recalibrate to that specific outcome. Where were we going again? Basic instruction number 3, readjust and take the necessary actions to get to the destination. And basic instruction number 4, if that comes up again, I'm gonna do this again. Can you do that? And
like
it's
that
like
do until got me right here.
That's that. And the thing is, because the obstacles are gonna come, Colorado's gonna come. It's gonna be there. I promise you, the mountain it's waiting for you. Every single day of your life, it's like God gave us one package of problems. It's just today's problem. Be grateful for the rest of the day, but make sure you open this package. Because there's a problem in here for you to solve. They're gonna come. The question is, at what point are you gonna let that today's package of problems ruin your day? And a lot of times what we do is we have anxiety about the future. You know why? Because you open in tomorrow's package.
Okay.
Don't open that package.
Yeah.
Or every package you opened your whole life, you carrying them all with you.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to let go. You gotta be able to make sure you know exactly where you're going again. You're gonna have to continue to take the action. Sometimes you may be handicapped in some way, not physically, but you may have some lack of resources, different obligations. You're gonna have to recalibrate. and change the necessary action sometimes can be like a moving target. But sometimes you got to change your actions to get to the same goal.
Well, our final question is sponsored by Barking Dogs of Gilbert, your neighborhood one-stop pet shop. What advice would you give our listeners that need clarity, that need precision, that need just a way to get over that mountain in Colorado?
If you want to change what's going on around you, you got to start by changing what's going on within you. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm going to even elaborate on that very briefly. It's the difference between saying he pissed me off and I'm angry.
Okay.
Because if he pissed me off, then I'm just suffering the effects of whatever's happening in my world. And there's nothing I could do about it. But if I'm angry, oh, now I'm in control.
Yeah.
I can do something about this.
Mhm.
But as long as it's somebody else's fault, I mean, Morgan Freeman made it to Hollywood. That's all I got to say.
Oh, man. Hey, Chukky, thank you so much, Mr. Okobi. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Man, it will be an honor to have you come back on the show.
Absolutely.
It's people.
Absolutely.
Your message resonates through all demographics of all ages. Thank you for allowing us to be an avenue to portray your vision and what you experience. Brother, I really appreciate you.
Amen.
Hey,
You
and
guys
I'm gonna
have
tell you, I'm gonna be thinking about all day about that state, because that stay until was major. Because some people they'll do the step 1, 2, and 3, and then but they won't stay until,
Mhm, mhm.
So that was big. I appreciate all the insight that you brought. Yep, and then working on the inner person. That's what it comes down to. That's who you can control.
Yeah, you can't control out there, but you are the cause of everything happening here.
My man.
In the mind and in the heart. It's all in there. It's all you. There's nobody else in there but you.
Good stuff.
Hey, I
Stuff.
want to welcome you to the ASAP Elite family. And like I say, man, it was an honor and goodness, I will be definitely reaching out for you to come back on the show season 2.
All right. See you guys have me.
My brother.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Thank you for blessing us with the honor of your insight and your presence.
All right. You guys be cool. See you guys soon.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Brother was preaching.
Bro. Like his nuggets it was like pulling a nugget out of some of the stuff he was saying
He
was
dropped a nugget
impossible.
every syllable.
Every sentence is like, oh,
every sentence.
so do I stop him? Do I no, let him keep
The
going.
brother roll. Yeah, that was incredible. That was great. It was fulfilling. It was motivational. Everything that we embody here on this show, man. Once again,
I hope y'all was listening, man. I hope y'all was listening.
goodness. If not, I took notes. And you can always rewind this show. It's gonna be days when you feel like you're not big enough. That you feel like the obstacle is too large and too wide. But it's all in your mind.
That's right. You keep going until.
Yep, that's right. So until next week, we say peace to you here at ASAP Elite. Thank you.